We're here today to talk about the future of sports in Saudi Arabia. You're both like accomplished athletes, Saudi athletes. We have the first rower ever, Saudi rower here, and we have a tennis champion. But before we get into the future and what to expect, I'd like to go back to the origin story, if we can say that. So why this specific sport? Like, why rowing, and how did you get into it?
That's a good question. A lot of people compare me to the Jamaican bobsleigh team, being a Saudi rower. But essentially, I was studying in the UK, and I did my master's there. In that university, rowing was very accessible. It was one of the most popular sports. So I actually started rowing just for fun, just to pass the time in between the work. But I then became absolutely obsessed with this sport. I think it's the toughest sport in the world. I mean, I love tennis, but it's tough in its own way. It's incredibly physical. It requires incredible technique and the mental strength to keep pushing through pain barriers every single day. It was just so different. So I just became obsessed, and when I graduated in 2017, the Tokyo Olympics were 3 years away, and I couldn't ignore that opportunity. I didn't know what the chances of me qualifying was, but I knew I had to bite the bullet and drop everything. There was no Saudi Rowing Federation, so I stayed in the UK and I found a coach who's a legend in the sport. He's 84 years old. His name is Bill Barry. He won a silver medal in the 1964 Tokyo Olympics. So if I qualified to Tokyo, he would be the first person in history to attend the Olympics twice in the same city, Tokyo 64 and Tokyo 2020. So that's it. We buckled down, trained for 3 years, alhamdulillah, qualified, got to the quarterfinals. I had the honor of being flag bearer at the opening ceremony, and it was a life-changing event, honestly. So
yeah, I think we'll need to talk about the Tokyo Olympics in more detail in a bit, but before that, Ammar, how did you get in tennis, and why tennis, basically?
Yeah, I mean, my story with tennis, I mean, I played a bunch of sports growing up when I was younger. Tennis, football, basketball, volleyball. But I excelled at tennis at a relatively young age. I mean, I was competing in tennis, football, and basketball all at a relatively high level at a very young age. But I excelled at tennis in specific. I mean, I grew up in the States, so I was #1 under 12 in my region, in the Mid-Atlantic region, and top 5 in the US. So it was kind of a no-brainer to go with tennis. And yeah, the individual aspect of the sport, it's something that I really love. You're out there on your own. No one's there to bail you out. You have to figure stuff out. You have to problem solve. And the wins and losses are on you at the end of the day. So I think that's a privilege.
So I remember, how was it when you were 14 and you were the youngest on the team in a foreign land? How did you get around with that? Like, can you tell us more?
Yeah, I can go on to that story. I mean, yeah, I think it's funny how I said tennis about the individual aspect. But my favorite moments with tennis has come with team competition, whether it be a collegiate national championship with UVA or representing the men's national team in Davis Cup. So Davis Cup is basically the World Cup of tennis. So there's a bunch of countries competing against each other. And I went to compete in Iran for the first time, representing the men's national team at age 14, away from my parents, all alone. And I think there was one pivotal match for me that kind of shaped my career from what it is now. And it was us being down against Qatar for a tie, 1-0 down, and also me being down a set and a double break, which means in 2 minutes we could have had our bags packed and gone home. But I ended up, have that weight on your shoulder where you're playing something bigger than yourself. A fire lit up inside me, and I was able to clinch that match and go on to be undefeated for the rest of the event. And that year especially was a catalyst for me in terms of playing my first 3 international tournaments a few months later and winning the first 2 and making finals of the third. I went from being unranked, unknown, to around 200 in the world in a span of 3 weeks. So that was a big moment for me. Yeah. Huh? In juniors, yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of proud moments, like you were the flag bearer at the Olympics in Tokyo, right? Yeah, so how was that like? And actually, from starting rowing in 2017 and then 3 or 4 years later, you're at the Olympics, which is something people would spend years and years and years preparing for. So how was that like?
It's very difficult to describe what it's like walking out with the flag. For an athlete, being the flag bearer at the opening ceremony is the highest possible honor you can dream of. And it sort of felt right because so much has happened. Although it was a very short period of time when I started to qualification, so much happened in those 3 years. So many downs and ups and just a lot of drama, a lot of obstacles that it sort of felt right walking out. Just that moment alone made everything worth it. You know, when you commit to a full-time training program, I'm sure Ammar can relate, you have to disappear. Your friends and family will not see you. You have to go on training camps abroad, and you just forget a social life, forget making any sort of money. You just have to love what you do, and you have to be passionate about it. So that moment alone was representing your country is it's priceless, honestly. And it was a short period of time, but I'm sure Ammar can also agree that when you're obsessed with something and you think about it all day, every day, it doesn't feel like work. And that's what I sort of did. And alhamdulillah, it was a magical experience. And it couldn't have been possible without the support of the Ministry of Sports, honestly. Prince Abdulaziz bin Turki Al Faisal, we met after the Asian Games in 2018. And it was a completely new sport, and he was so happy, and he supported me quite a bit. So, credit to the Ministry of Sports, the Saudi Olympic Committee. They were really important in helping. And now we have a federation set up, we have full-time staff, we have a whole squad, we have a training center in Jeddah. So this new movement has been born that we're really proud of.
Yeah, speaking of the new movement, right now when you started out, I don't think there was a Saudi role model for rowing for you. It was something that you basically started. And now, being captain of the rowing national team, what responsibilities do you think this adds to you on your day-to-day? Like on social media and how you carry yourself? Like, what more responsibilities does this add?
I realized that regarding motivation and inspiration, I realized that I don't think true inspiration comes to you through a screen looking at a global superstar like a Messi or Ronaldo, as great as they are. I think true inspiration comes to you through someone you personally know. So a friend, a colleague, a cousin. And they don't have to be very successful in sports. They just have to inspire you to move. For example, with me, my father was very active in school. He was an athlete, he played hockey. So around the house, he has pictures on the wall here and there, a little trophy, a little medal, and that was enough for me to try sports at school. And one thing led to another. So the message is basically anyone can be someone's hero. They don't have to be some global superstar. And I think if a lot of people realize the power they may have, the influence they may have on others, then they would be, a lot more aware of what they do. And so I know I'm the first rower, but it does put more pressure on you because you have a lot of eyes looking at you. You undergo a lot more introspection and try and be a model to those who follow. But that's the beauty about the sport. It actually shapes you. It gives you that discipline, and that's why I encourage a lot of people to do it, because it does shape you for the better. As I said, discipline teaches you teamwork, communication. And so a lot of people who joined the Saudi Rowing Federation, and I can name a handful, who are either underweight or overweight, and then after 3 years now of training, complete life transformation. Their self-esteem, they have a sense of purpose. So, the best advice I would say is join a team. It doesn't have to be competitive. Just join a team, be part of a family, and the sport will do the rest.
I think it's very unusual for an Olympian to say you don't need to be very competitive. But I get your point. It makes perfect sense.
The founder of the Olympics, Pierre de Coubertin, said the Olympics isn't actually about winning, it's about taking part. Yeah. He said that. And the message, this reverts back to the whole Olympic Charter. The Olympic Charter's message is, it's...
Sorry to interrupt. It's been hectic.
I think everyone here is aware of the traffic
Yes.
coming into this building. So,
So, hi
Um,
everybody.